Hello, ladies and germs. I'm Alper Markov, and today we will be interviewing a brand new Magic the Gathering artist. Her name is Sarah Finnigan, and let's get to the interview right now because I know you want to. Well, thank you for taking the time to interview today.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
I guess the first question would be, this is your debut, so I would like to hear this story of how you actually got involved. Like, what was the situation that led to you getting involved with Magic?
Well, the short answer is that I went to a LuxCon in 2019 with all of my art, and one of the art directors just approached me in the showcase and offered magic work. That's the short answer.
What is the long answer?
Um, well, I mean, I guess that's still the answer either way. But for years, everything I made, everything that I made was for a portfolio aimed at wizards. And I submitted to them over and over, and I didn't get anywhere with it. But I stopped doing finished art when I had kids. I had a day job, so I didn't have time. I only had a couple hours a week to work on art. And during that time, I decided that chasing clients was taking me in the wrong direction. So I think I was trying to be what other people. I was trying to be what I thought other people wanted my art to be.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
And so I think that was misguiding me. I was doing monsters and people doing magic, and what I thought magic wanted of the people that they hired. And I think anytime you do that, you're kind of putting yourself on. You're competing on technical skill, and you don't want to compete with magic artists on technical skill. They've got amazing talent.
It's true.
So I think I came back from not doing finished work, started making paintings again, and kind of made peace with the fact that I didn't think that what I was doing was going to be a good fit for magic, but that I really wanted to just work on landscapes. And I think once I started doing my own thing, they came to me. So I don't know. I think that there's like something poetic about that, doing your own thing instead of chasing after it.
Right. It's sort of like the answer to getting involved with magic was there all along, and you had to pay attention to your own voice in order for that to get their attention.
Mm-hmm.
Had you played the game before?
I had played it a couple times, but it was from the perspective of trying to learn the functionality of the different cards and getting familiar with how it worked, because I wanted to illustrate for them. My interest in magic was just when I discovered fantasy art as a industry. They made such a cool product, such a visually inspiring project. I wanted to be a part of that,
What was the start for you as an artist? What was your earliest connection to it? When did you get your true start?
Like, when did I just start doing art, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm always curious when artists pick up a paintbrush or a pencil or whatever for the first time. How old were you, and when did that start?
Everybody does it when they're a kid, but I started doing it in college because I had a gaming addiction, and I had to give it up. Unfortunately, I got stuck on EverQuest for hours a day, and for the interest of doing okay in college, I got someone gifted me a tablet, a really old tablet, and so I started messing around with digital art, and that just ended up becoming my focus.
And you had no formal training beforehand? I mean, yeah, everybody picks up art when they're children, but not everybody becomes what you guys become.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was one of those kids that liked art a lot, but I stopped doing it. And so when I started again in college, it was without anything in between.
And did you realize that you had a knack for it really quickly?
My early pieces would argue that I did not have a knack for it.
No.
But I didn't really care, and I think I went to school for music, and
Really?
It was and it was in stark relief, because in music, and I was really passionate about it, and I really cared about it, I thought. But with art, I wasn't afraid to fail, and with music, I was. It was like I cared enough about art that I was okay with it not being great, and I think that that was the difference.
And maybe also there's a lot of competition, like immediate competition with musicians versus artists where, yes, there is competition, but you're not going to be placed in an audition setting or something like that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, there's definitely probably a part of that. There's a lot more with, like, as a musician, you're kind of the paintbrush. You're not, unless you're composing, and then it's just different. And
Yeah.
but you're right. There's less embracing where you're at when you're in music than with art.
What was specifically did you do in music? I'm curious.
I had a major in tuba performance.
Tuba.
Tuba.
Interesting. When did you start playing tuba?
In middle school.
That's an interesting instrument. I mean, like that's you don't hear that answer too often, but you need them. I mean, you need good tubas.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely.
So what I read on your site, you describe your paintings as allegorical landscapes. What does that mean to you? Because I'm kind of slow, and I'm like, well, I know what an allegory is, but
Well, hopefully I'm using the word allegory right in that. But most of the paintings that I've done that are personal, obviously it's a whole different animal with the magic work, but there is an intended meaning behind them. Like some of them, it's a little more concrete than others. A great example is I was actually a part of a show with Haven last year called Allegory, and the piece that I did for it, was it's got these towers. It's 3 towers. The 2 on the sides are crumbling, or they've fallen really. And the one in the center has the 2 staircases coming up to the entrance. That's it's a excuse me, a perfect circle doorway, and the bottom of the tower's got like the 2 different colored bricks from the staircases gradually mixing. And coming into that piece, I was thinking about something going on with somebody I know, where it had me thinking about the commitments we make in life with other people. I think the most ubiquitous is marriage, but in this case, it actually wasn't that. But the more you go into, whether it's starting a business or with somebody else, or even I guess just with the commitments that go into that with other people, the commitments when you get married, etc. Those staircases come together. There's a circle, like an oath, like a ring, but you build upward, and you have the chance to do something greater. But you take those bricks out at a certain point, everything falls apart. Whether that's because you're investing in a business or you're investing in a marriage, and your whole life is intertwined. It's there's a lot of risk to those kinds of big commitments. But anyway, so a lot of the paintings have something like that to them, where it's exploring a thought that is outside of this is a pretty landscape, but through a pretty landscape.
Interesting. So were there any specific allegories in mind that you had for your pieces in magic? I know it's kind of gauche to ask an artist to give their interpretation of it, because it's also up to us, but this is an interesting an idea to me.
Yeah, not with magic. I think one of the reasons that I really like working on magic is because I can kind of come at the piece in the same process, and like with mentally the same process, because the world guide is just this huge in-depth, lots of imagery, lots of information, and you can kind of look at it as a whole and then come away with thoughts and inspiration from the whole package of that set. But it's not so I can't really think of a way that I would approach it allegorically.
What was your first day and your first interaction at Wizards Lake? Like what was that experience?
Well, I got an email, because we all work from home. I assume we all work from home. And it was really exciting. I was, when I got asked at AluxCon, it was, would you like to do this? And then it was a couple weeks of, did they mean it? Was it like a hypothetical, maybe someday? You know, what does that really mean? And so finally getting that email was great. But then it took a couple weeks to get the paperwork.
Oh no,
because it was over Christmas, you know, Kaldheim was done a year ago.
right.
Yeah, they couldn't get me into the system, so they couldn't give me my assignment, which was torturous. I was so excited, and I don't work very fast. So yeah, I was kind of nail biting after the first couple days of being excited and then being like, okay, any day now.
And then you're like, I need to sign something.
Yes, just I'll sign whatever you need me to sign. Just give me something to work on.
And so what was your very first assignment then? Was it the snow-covered plains or was it the one behind me?
Oh, it was at the same time. It was both of them.
You got both of them?
And I worked on them, yeah. Yeah, and I worked on them both at the same time. My pieces need a lot of time. They're acrylic, but I do isolation coats where I lay them down and pour clear coats over them. So swapping between multiple pieces is kind of necessary. So alternating is great.
Now, I hope I don't pronounce this incorrectly. Is grisaille? I read that you do that on your work. What is that?
I'm not sure how to pronounce it either. It's the wonderful world of the internet. I think it's grisaille, but I'm not sure.
Hey, I'm
yeah,
sure you're better at it.
I need to update that. I'm sorry, what was that?
I said I'm sure you're probably more likely to be right than I am because that does sound like the French pronunciation.
Yeah, I hope. We'll see. I should update that because I don't do that anymore. But grisaille is where you do like a black and white or grayscale underpainting and then you glaze color over it. And I was doing that up until I started doing magic work, and the timeline for the deadline just doesn't permit me to take that much time.
It's more like intensive as far as the time to do it.
Yeah. So the reason I was doing it, you know, I started digital and I moved to painting just a couple years ago. And when you do a grisaille or you do whatever it's called underneath, then you're getting the values, you know, the how dark and light things are handled first, and then you just do color on top. So you don't have to think about all of those different aspects as you're painting. So I think it makes it a little more digestible and achievable. And but sometimes that means you're kind of doing work twice. So it's on one hand, it's a really good thing. I think it was a really good thing for me to do for a while. And there are times when I use it a bit, but only in like parts of the painting. But yeah, it's definitely more time intensive.
Was it more, is that stuff self-taught? Or, I mean, do you go from tablet and then you sort of like research into that? I mean, how do you go from A to B?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Like, are you self-taught as far as those kind of techniques?
I have benefited a lot from the internet. You know, I did like the illustration masterclass, which is a thing they do once a year. It's like a week-long workshop. Rebecca Gay runs it. I did that twice, and I did one semester of Smart School, which is also run by her and I guess the same group of people. But otherwise, I think that mostly I could point to muddycolors.com, the blog that Dan Dos Santos has.
Yeah.
You know, they do like a post 6 days a week. What's that?
I'm said. Oh yeah, I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's really great. And you know, I had a day job, but I would find myself with a lot of time sometimes to look at other things. And so while I couldn't be painting, I could be reading about painting. And so I spent a lot of time that or watching videos and things like that.
What was the first piece that you did that you really feel like was representative of you as an artist now?
It was called The Way Between. It's got the spiral tree staircase.
It's on your website, right?
Water. It is, yeah. It's one of my oldest things that I've done.
It's a cool painting, and everything we talk about, I will be posting as part of the video so people can see that.
Okay.
Also, and I know this again kind of gauche, but I love this kind of stuff. Like, how long did it take for those paintings to sell? Because I read on Hipsters that they were gone.
Oh, so yeah, one of them went up on the Magic the Gathering art market on Facebook, and someone bought it with the buy it now option right away. So that one was immediate. The other one, the one that's behind you, an existing collector had reached out. He was with me at a LuxCon, not with me, but we had lunch at a LuxCon, and he heard that I had asked if I was interested in doing magic work, and he said, I just want to own your first piece. So then he reached out again when he got home, and without seeing it or anything, of course we can't share those, but he said he wanted to own my first piece. There were two, and I didn't want to sell the bigger one, so I said, all right, so I've got a bigger one and a smaller one, and how about the smaller one? And so that one went before.
So, and is it and I guess again, like, I'm sorry but like, as far as getting what you got paid, was that something that was surprising to you? Were you able to get a marked increase in what you charged versus what you ordinarily did?
Yeah, I mean, definitely for the most recent one. I put the buy it now as a buy it now, assuming that was well above what I could probably get for it, and it went obviously right away. So I was wrong. I've been lurking on the Facebook group for the last year, but I guess I haven't been doing my homework well enough. But yeah, no, I think that one went for 75, and that's about double of, maybe a little bit less than double, or maybe around double of what it would have gone for as just a piece through a gallery or through out of my studio.
That's got to be so exciting.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
Do you know if there is going to be any work in the future? Have you got any plans to be in other sets? I'm curious to know.
So all the ones up there's 6 of them up there, are also, yeah, they look like pieces of wood because they're facing
the other way.
Yeah, I couldn't show you guys.
Right. Yeah. Contracts.
Right. Yeah. So I've got them like leaning against each other. There we go. That's better. So that the surfaces don't touch anything. It's just too costly to frame them right away. But
right.
I've got another one that's like up here forward of your view. But yeah, so I've got so 6 of them, I know what set they go to, and one of them I do not.
Really? So
and then there's the one I'm working on now.
And what is the time span, I guess, as far as years worth of stuff, since you do them early enough? Do you know when the farthest away one is going to be published?
Well, so I think I'm allowed to say this because these sets have been announced, right?
Everything's been announced up till Innistrad, and I think Innistrad is the...
Yeah, so I think it's okay to say that I've got 5 I did a land cycle for the D&D set, and I've got 1 for Innistrad, and then I've got 1 that I did last spring, and I have no idea what it goes to.
That's interesting.
And yeah, and then I've got the one I'm working on now, which is probably 2022.
That's exciting. So like right off the bat, you're in there. You're good to go.
Yeah, they're it's I wish I could take more. I'm doing 1% now. I learned my lesson when I did that land cycle. It was too much.
And like, so like, was it just like by the wire? I mean, how soon was the deadline when you finished?
For the D&D, the land cycle ones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I got 2 different, so they give you 6 weeks for assignments, and it was 5 across 2 different of those time periods. So it was 2 and 3. The unfortunate part was it's just such a hard thing to turn down, It was
right.
exciting. And I'm on Everyday Original, which is like a website that sells a small original they do it every day, but I do it once every other month. So I had one of those, and I had another gallery that I was doing a piece for. So I ended up doing 8 pieces in 12 weeks, which
Wow.
was a bad idea. And for the magic pieces, I think for every single one of them, I went a couple nights without sleep the last couple days. And I'm not one of those people who can do that really well. So now I've kind of pulled myself back, and I'm only taking one at a time, because I think that I'd rather do my best work and do fewer pieces.
Right.
But
Because if these are going to exist in perpetuity, you definitely want them to be a good representation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that you'll ever go back and dabble with monsters or anything like that, or do you think that that's something that you're going to leave in your artistic past, so to speak?
I don't see myself ever doing monsters again. I mean, I only did a couple pieces of those. I spent years doing animals, and I mean, I like the technical challenge of doing animal and human anatomy, but I just the things that I feel standing in front of an environment are just they're not there. When I look at, there are a lot of figurative works that I love, but a lot of what I'm admiring is the technical skill and the creativity. But I don't know. I hate to ever say never, but I don't see it happening right now. I don't see it happening in the future from where I am right now.
That's reasonable. I mean, you have to have a certain sense of personal inspiration if you're going to be taking on a piece, right? It's not going to work if you don't.
Yeah. I also hate to decide. I mean, like I'm not that old. I can't imagine what I'm going to be doing in 30 years. So I also hate to say never.
Right. I mean, you can't say never, but I mean, I'm just curious. I'm curious to see it because there's so much of, including I've talked to, Steve Belladin and John Avon. Every artist, seems to have, or at least a lot of them seem to have a very harsh critical eye turned on themselves. And I'm interested to see the work because it's never, ever as bad as the artist like perpetuates it to be.
Oh, I don't feel like I was particularly bad. I think that when you don't love what you're doing, it kind of seeps through. Like people can smell that it's not quite right. But yeah, I've heard some interviews with, like, Steve Belladin did one with LuxCon too, because they did like the LuxCon online this year, and he's really hard on himself.
Very, yeah. When I interviewed him, I was like, Steve, no.
Yeah.
And
It's so sad because the work is so good.
right. And then John Avon goes to me in an email. He says, I never understood why I was popular and I still don't. And I was like, well, but I think it works for some artists. The whole like tortured artist thing is sort of, it works for certain types, but I always am like, a part of me weeps when I hear people who are very talented say that they're not talented.
Yeah. I don't know. I think everybody deals with them. Excuse me, with the imposter syndrome thing. But when it goes to that extent, especially when it's like those two and the amazing career they've had, it's I feel the sadness too,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of people will talk about like art being like their children, but like I can maybe be disappointed in my kids, and because I know that they could be better. And I'm talking here about my art and not my actual kids.
Yes.
To be clear, I could be disappointed in my kids, and knowing that they could have been better and what their potential was. But I still like them at the end of the day. Even with like, it's like they have shortcomings, but it was the best I could do at the time. And so when I don't know, I feel so bad listening to those things because I don't know, their work is just so great.
Right. It's like,
just
it's
beautiful, and it's inspired so many.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, because especially with John Avon, like you being sort of like the land lineage, like now you're the new, next generation of a land painter. So there's that connection there that's got to be, significant.
Maybe. I assumed he was still in the game. I hope he's still making
He
Magic
is. Yes, he is.
landscape.
He is.
Okay,
He's got
good.
4 coming out next year. Actually, in the D&D set, he'll be. That's crazy. You'll be side by side.
Oh yeah. Yeah, his work's unbelievable. I've been looking at that a lot, and had his a lot in the last year or two. Year and 2 years, yeah.
Well, I guess my final question for you would be: is there anything else that you have going on that you'd like to plug or discuss? Because, I love giving people a forum, and I'm interested in it.
I'm glad you asked that question because there's almost always something, but I don't really have something right now.
Well, hey, I mean, if you're busy doing stuff for Wizards, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a lot of work this year. If people collect outside of Magic, keep an eye out. And if people only do Magic work, keep an eye out. Yeah, I hope to be making a lot this year, but not a lot going on.
And we go to your website to look for your personal pieces.
Yeah, even when it's through a gallery, I do put them out there with a link over to where to find them.
Well, that is
except for EDO, because so far they haven't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, EDO. I'm sorry.
Everyday Original. I was saying, except for with Everyday Original, those pieces so far have always gone within the day, so I never bothered to put them up. But otherwise, they always go up on my website.
Well, awesome. Well, this has been great. It's awesome talking to you. Not only are you my first debut artist, but you're my first female artist that I've gotten a chance to talk to. So it's a double hitter for me. But it's great to be able to talk to somebody at the beginning of their journey. And I mean, it's pretty clear that you're gonna have a long future with the game.
Oh, I hope so. We'll see.
Oh, it'll happen. Trust me. I mean, I'm calling. I'm a gambling man, and I'm willing to gamble on this. It's just your stuff's like,
okay, cool.
It's good.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much, and I will talk to you down the line, hopefully.
Okay.
You too.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview. I know I did, and I'm going to announce this week's winner. It's I'm going to look at this one for Archangel Elf. That was a tongue twister, and you have won 3 visits from the Commander Legends set. So I would like to remind everybody, if you want to be entered in the giveaways that we do for each video, just like and subscribe. I totally stuttered that one out, but you know what? I'm going to keep going because I'm organic. So that's all I have for you guys tonight, and until next time, I got a scoop.